Yeehaw! It's the Old Man Ranting from the Kitchen live podcast. I'm your host, William Lee, podcaster, podcast publisher, and the co-founder of the Disruptors Podcast Network. And I'm telling you right now, from being here, the old man in the kitchen, I am so upset over the new facts and statistics that have been released on retail losses. That's merchandise that just walks out the door by itself, supposedly. As I mentioned in a couple of other podcasts, I spotted a gentleman at a Safeway store who, as he's coming out the indoor with a basket full of groceries, just nonchalantly walked through the parking lot. Individuals who had seen what had happened were yelling at him, telling him, "Hey, what are you doing? Haven't you paid for that stuff? Why aren't you paying?" And the gentleman, looking at him very calmly as he turned for a moment and then continued to walk off, stating, "I don't know how much you are worried about me, but I'll tell you something. I'll be eating well tonight. How about you?" And then calling the lady who had brought up the question a bitch, and walks off the parking lot, just like you and I would do it after we paid for our groceries and went back to our vehicles to go to our homes. Yeah, just no problem at all. He didn't even run. He just carefully, step by step, walked off the parking lot. What a great example that is for individuals that are now thinking, well, if he can get away with it, why can't I? To give you an idea how bad this situation has become, I checked into some of the statistics of losses by retail outlets in just the state of Washington alone, and found the staggering amount of $1.4 billion in inventory, such as food, clothing, appliances, etc., that have just simply walked out the door. Yeah, no problem at all. You walk in, you have your trench coat with you or your special device that you're going to hide the merchandise in, and you walk out. But wait, folks, you don't even have to do that anymore. Grab a shopping cart, make your way up and down the aisles, and when you're done shopping, just nonchalantly look around, check the exit door, and roll your cart into the parking lot. That's it. Nobody's going to bother you. Well, sure, there's a lot of cameras all over in these different retail outlets, taking pictures so that they can maybe, if they're lucky, head off any more losses by identification of individuals that are making a, shall we say, a shopping bonanza out of each time they come in to just look around, of course. Walmart, which is one of the larger retailers in the state of Washington, reported, you ready for this now, losses in their stores in the state of Washington amounted to $600 million that walked out the door. But wait, folks, that's not just the only one that's taking a big hit. It seems that the Kroger grocery store chain, they estimate $100,000 a year or more is walking out the door. And Home Depot, who is bolting down everything, putting padlocks and pipes and every type of device to keep their inventory on the shelf until it's ready to be paid for and then walk out the door, is looking at a $130,000 loss in the state of Washington each year. And this is by people who are not going to pay, or the smash and dash gangs, or the gangs that come in and flood the store area, grab everything quickly, and then out the door they go. I asked myself, well, wait a minute. Everybody's got cameras. Why aren't we doing something to stop this reign of terror? Then I thought to myself again, many stores have store security. Why aren't they apprehending these people and stopping them? Well, I'll explain to you why. First of all, when you have a store security or loss prevention crew that's unarmed, they are to see, observe, report, and write a report. I mean, that's it, and just boom, 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 boom. And if they're lucky, maybe they can take a picture of the guy walking out the door with the cart, and they can put it on the cork board in the security office. Well, there's that guy. We'll keep an eye on him when he comes in the next time. If it's under $1,000, the prosecuting attorney's office is not interested in even getting involved in that theft because, well, let's face it, we've overloaded the system. That's what they claim anyway. And let's look at the other side of the coin. Many of the cities, counties, and other organizations that have law enforcement have decided to cut their budgets because it's just too hard on the crooks, as far as I'm concerned, when you have police officers doing their job, protecting and arresting. Where does this go from here? I'll tell you exactly where it goes. It goes to higher prices, more violence, and more of a upturn in the losses, which hurt our economy. Now, everybody's really upset because groceries and some items keep going up. Seems like every time we go in the store, Ma, the price of something is doubled. And it'll continue to do so the businesses can continue to operate when their merchandise is walking out the door and nobody's paying for it. You see, the company that has that shelf where that item is sitting has to pay to buy that particular item. That doesn't mean that this is a free-for-all, come on in, fill your pockets and leave. No, it doesn't mean that at all. And people right now, and especially some of the younger generation, have decided that it's just easier to steal it than pay for it. Well, what about those fancy, tennis shoes that are $200 a pair? How did they get to $200 a pair? Simply, in most cases, it's because the companies have to take care of the item called the loss. You got to have money to continue to merchandise, to manufacture, to logistically get them to the stores, etc. All this work depends on individuals who get a paycheck, right? Okay, so once we get them to the stores, what gives people the right just to take a shopping cart, as I mentioned before, and shop without even thinking about making a stop at the checkout stand? Oh, this is so bad, I can't even believe it. But here's another thought. Amazon, who automated their grocery stores, thought it was the greatest thing in the world without having any checkers or people to bother you as you go out the door. In other words, you had an app on your phone, you make your choices of groceries, you put them in the cart, you roll it out the door, and as you walk by this special machine, it reads the app on your phone and takes the money from your banking account and places it in their account. Well, that was so successful that Amazon's closing stores one after another simply because they can't afford to have the store open. The theft ratio is out of this world. Oh, some people are going to say, Bill, we have homeless people. Oh, don't give me this homeless routine. Yes, we do, unfortunately. But don't tell me that everybody living on the streets is stealing. Although a high percentage of them, unfortunately, that are homeless are into drugs, and, theft is the next way of survival to get your free high. We are turning our economy into a rather large drain that will drain out millions and millions of dollars out of the taxpayers' pockets. And this is not right. I don't know what Olympia is thinking about. Oh, wait, I do know what they're thinking about in this state. We've got to clean the air because the birds are getting terrible lung problems, obviously, or something. So we'll invest millions of dollars in laws, regulations, changes into electric automobiles, electric trucks to cut down the terrible things that's happening to our air. For merchandise that's going to be delivered to stores, which people are just walking out the door and not even paying for. We have an imbalance with our economy, and we have theft to boot. What is Olympia doing about this? I don't know. Some police departments are really on the rocks trying to slow down theft. Now, if you look at the store loss preventions, let's focus on that. You'll see that, yes, they have cameras and surveillance equipment throughout the store. 9 out of 10 times, their loss prevention people are aware of these people picking up merchandise and running for the exit. But they can't get there. And if they do get to the exit before the person gets outside the door, the chances of holding them is about, like winning the lottery. It's the same theory. Maybe you can hold them and maybe you can't. Stores get nervous about loss prevention taking any other moves except observation and reporting, simply because of lawsuits, discrimination suits, you name the suit. Somewhere there's a lawyer with a checkered passion for really making the big dollars off of saving the poor innocent person who is being, well, falsely prosecuted. This is more hogwash than you can find in the middle of a pig pen. There is no reason in the world continuing to allow merchandise to be stolen. What would happen if, psychologically, and shall we say just for a visual effect in our podcast, if all the stores that were being stolen from decided to close their doors? What if it got to the point whereas supermarkets and big malls and shopping centers just closed their doors? They couldn't afford any longer to stay in business. Think about that for a moment. Of all the people that jobs require those stores, think about all the opportunities for employment in other areas, logistically, truck drivers, and the list goes on, whose jobs now are out the window because, well, the thievery's so high we can't run a business. We're going to just shut it down. Law enforcement does the best they can. We've handcuffed them to their chairs so that they can't make actual arrests unless it's high priority. And with the shortage of police officers in the towns, that even makes it even more complicated. Now, in the state of Washington, it has been noted that if you have an armed security guard that's trained inside the store on the property, they can apprehend and arrest an individual for stealing. But wait, folks, there's another problem. If that person is apprehended and injured, he has the right, as I mentioned before, to sue. Number two, the police department may not have enough manpower, or it will be a low priority call. Therefore, what do you do with the shoplifter that you've just now handcuffed and put into the security office of the store, waiting for somebody to do something? Do we just warehouse these people and hope that eventually somebody will come and pick them up? Stores can't afford to do that. The lawsuit aspect that I've mentioned now continuously is outrageous. And the problem of a security officer being fully trained, well, there aren't a lot of them in the state of Washington that have enough experience and time on the job to become real assets to that business, training-wise, and covering the back door of lawsuits due to illegal shootings or apprehension or injuries during the apprehension. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. With all the wonderful ambulance chasing lawyers that, we can sue Walmart and get $50 million because Amos here, all he stole was $100 worth of material and they roughed him up. This is so ridiculous. I can't believe it. And if it continues on, folks, we're going to see bigger and more changes. And it's not going to be for the benefit of those, that need to survive. I'm talking about the convenience for senior citizens who are now scared to death to go into some stores and shopping areas simply because they might get mugged in the parking lot of the larger shopping centers. A good friend of mine went into Penny's in South Hill and watched an individual at Penny's go up and down the aisles, fill their backpack, fill their pockets, and walk right out the door. Bells were going off. The metal detectors were yelling and screaming. My friend stood there and watched. Nobody showed up. Not a soul. So the bells and the lights and the theory that noise will get the crook to drop the merchandise and run, that's over with. They don't care. They know that they're going to walk through an area that's going to ring bells, but nobody's going to apprehend them. And what's the chances of finding enough employees in a large store to get there in time to begin with? Maybe after they drive off the parking lot, they can see, that could have been, I don't know, Joe, your loss prevention. What do you think? Well, I think we better get a cup of coffee and go back and watch the cameras. This is the whole system that is now failing. While it fails, you, again, with taxes and the cost of doing business in the state of Washington will see increases in pricing. I hope that people will get together and start a conversation that will involve their congressmen, their leaders, one of which is very busy on getting rid of daylight savings time instead of worrying about things like the economy and things of this nature, which are more important. This is all the factors that add up to complete chaos. This is the factors that have really ruined the way we work as far as retailers and merchandisers that try to bring high quality, good, safe products to the marketplace. They try to make it so that they can have a fair price. But we're ignoring that and allowing theft to raise those prices through the roof. That's why the old man ranting in the kitchen looks at the shelves in his refrigerator when the door is open and says to himself, my goodness, I just paid hundreds of dollars and what did I get? Well, that's my rant today. I hope that you have enjoyed the show. I hope that you'll also take time to really start thinking about these things, reporting if you see thefts, and protesting to our leaders that we cannot tolerate the lawlessness that's going on, that we can no longer condone the rights for individuals to steal from us in the community. Together, all of us can make a difference. If we stand united, we shall bring the end of the tyranny of this awful crime of destroying our economy. Maybe the answer to this situation is that we just start growing our vegetables and things of that nature in the backyard. I'm totally not sure what the answers are going to be in the future, but I know right now the biggest questions we have are simply this. Are we going to stand by and continue to let law and order go down the tube by lawless thieves who are ruining our economy? Or are we going to really, for once, make a stand through good conversation to get the leadership rolling in the right direction? Well, I'm going to take a few moments here, mix up some coffee, and I think I'll just contemplate what's going to happen next as the old man worries about his community, the areas of law and order, and what's coming up tomorrow. If you want to get in contact with me, it's really very simple. Now, there's two ways that you can now do it. First of all, you can visit our keepusmiling.com website, or you can email me at Keeba, that's Keeba, agency, @gmail.com. That's Keeba, Keeba, agency, @gmail.com. Hope that you've enjoyed the show and that we've possibly started some thinking of really what reality is going to be like for our future children and for tomorrow in this great country. Until then, I always like to conclude our show with this simple thought. Keep your mind open to positive communications and conversation. Take and remember your neighbors. Put love in your heart for those that need a helping hand up. And you'll always keep us smiling.